It's Grace. In this video, I'm going to talk a little bit, do more of a stream of consciousness while I get my thoughts together here. But nothing unusual for sociologists even to tell the background to this. But it's about a philosophy course I took back in the 80s, many years ago. I don't remember what year, but it was on logic. And a little bit of the story around it, because there was so much to that story. So I mentioned that Adam and I moved around a lot when we were back when we were married. We got married in 1982, so it was a long time ago. And we moved around a lot, and so I attended a lot. Both of us, him not so much, but I attended a lot of colleges and universities along the way. Several different states. And which I thought was good because it gave me an idea of how they teach, just an idea, a brief little idea, how they taught in other states. But yeah, this one, I live in Texas. I was born and raised in Texas, but like I said, I've lived in other states. And but then this one, it was that I think Adam had I had moved to a different part of Texas. Adam had moved to California to work. Then I couldn't handle being in my parents' home, which was where I was. I think that's what it was. I asked Adam about it this morning. He has a vague memory too. But I think he had moved to California, so me and his brother, we moved to San Antonio, Texas, and got an apartment, stayed in an apartment together. I think I was with one of his male cousins for a while in Houston, and then I went to San Antonio, and like I said, Adam's brother and I got an apartment. So yeah, at some point Adam went from California to Florida, and I think after that I went to Florida. Yeah. But anyway, while I was in San Antonio, I attended SAC, San Antonio College. I don't know if it's still called that or not, and I think it is. But one of the classes I had to take, it was a college, I had to be either a freshman or sophomore. And one of the classes I had to take for my fields, was logic, philosophy. It was under philosophy, logic. And I just remember it so much because of a lot of the things that were going on around then. And the way the professor, I don't think he was an actual professor, I think he may have been an instructor, or I don't know what they were called back then. But he wrote his own book. Okay. The reason I remember it was because it was on like copier paper, and it had a white copier paper, and then the front and back was just like a colored sheet, of paper, blue. And I remember the blue spiral. It was blue spiral that held the book together. It was plastic. Blue plastic spiral. Now that used to be kind of common because it made it less expensive for students, but also they got, I would think, got money off of selling their own book. These days that would be considered just quite primitive. And just by the way, we're about to pass the college where I taught. One of them. Yeah, I taught at college and university, but anyway, that book was on logic, and it wasn't just on logic. It was on, the thing I remember most about it was fallacies, and there was a lot of history and all this and everything. But I just basically remember the fallacy, and I also remember, like I said, carrying it around for years until the pages just kept ripping out, and I finally, there's a whole story behind why I lost pretty much all of my textbooks. That's another story. But anyway, the fallacies, I woke up this morning with that on my mind. Seriously. I think I should explain that more. Ever since I started taking metformin back in 1998, which is for type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance. That's what they used to call it back then, insulin resistance. But ever since I started taking that in 1998, and I'm still taking it, I would wake up every morning with some kind of thought on my mind that I needed to take care of. Okay, yeah. It was like, that's how my brain would see it. I'd wake up with this thought. And this morning it was about this whole topic of logic and living in San Antonio and what Adam was doing and we were doing. Me moving eventually to Florida too, and I've lived in California also, other states, several other states. But all that was on my mind, and I really thought, this is one of those things I've mentioned, I believe in a video. I mentioned, I don't know how long ago, all my old videos are basically on private, most of them. But there was one I mentioned this about, they took psychology and sociology out of the grade schools here, and it may have been as early as 2000 or maybe even before then. I wasn't interested in becoming, a teacher in either one of those, for grade school, so I don't know. Yeah, but I think I had some catalogs. I can't even remember what they're called. Oh, God. Don't use it, you lose it. But yeah, from like 2004 or 2002 maybe, and they had taken them out. But anyway, I mentioned that's a problem, because kids these days, at least here in Texas, I don't know, there may be parts of Texas we're still teaching it, but not learning about psychology, sociology, and possibly philosophy, and a lot of the ologies. Yeah, that's not a good thing. That is really not a good thing, and I think we're starting to see the results of that happening, at least where yeah. Ooh, my SUV made a strange noise. Anyway, it led me to think that, I really need to look over these fallacies again, and a lot of this that was taught under logic. Now, for many, many years, I think starting back, especially since 2010, I think I still have some copies of this. I was basically printing stuff off online. I got into some kind of weird stage of doing that and keeping them so I could give myself refresher courses. Because, you don't use it, you lose it. And I was thinking about that this morning, but, it's in there somewhere. Now, there are theories that suggest not. It could happen. But I was thinking how it's in there. It's just covered with cobwebs and guarded by dust bunnies. Information in there. So I like to keep giving myself refresher courses on things that I haven't had to use in a long while. And this is one. Now, like I said, I was doing the strange things years ago where I would print stuff off from online. Not the best place to get information, believe me. And dividing them up. I think it's, psychology. I had these, what are they called? Accordion files, and they were plastic. They sold a lot of them back then. I think sometimes you can find them now. But I had blue. The cover would be blue. It was plastic, like you can see through, sheer. What is the term? Anyway, the lid would be blue for psychology, pink for sociology, and green, I don't know why I did, green for philosophy. And then there were other ones that were mixed in with all three of those, like religion and theology was mixed in with the philosophy. Separate little accordion files. But yeah, I still have all those from back then. And I was cleaning them out the other day. I was reorganizing stuff. I've had enough of the psychology refresher course that I give myself. So I was going to go to the next one. The next two, sociology and philosophy. Whew, yeah, stream of consciousness. Since this thought was on my mind about fallacies this morning, I went through, trying to find the things I had printed out. Now, here's the thing. I printed them out from Wikipedia. Now, when I was, an educator, I refused to allow my students to give me anything that they got from Wikipedia. Okay, yeah. Actually, some people call it Wikipedia and some call it Wikipedia. I've always called it Wikipedia. But anyway, I refused because some of the stuff, was what they used to just call geek, like that, for many years. So I remember when it first became, I don't know if people first started noticing it or what, but it was bad. I mean, some of the most ignorant, the most misogynistic, really, against women. Like a borderline personality disorder had something about these are always women because they hold grudges and they don't know how to let it go, and it went on from there. Yes, I wouldn't allow my students to quote anything from Wikipedia. And then it did start changing. I know over years I would look at it and start reading and say, hey, this is getting better. Because I was like a walking encyclopedia back then. Not now, but then. And I was like, wrong, wrong, wrong. And over the years, I was saying, okay, that's much better. That's much better. Yeah. Anyway, these days I trust it more. But I also have access. Anybody really, I think, can have access to these kinds of things. I don't know about where you live. But I was kind of surprised because it wasn't like that before. But even if you're not teaching, you're not an educator, these days I can get on through a library to what is called here, of course, is I think it's Texas Share. I think the S on its icon is shared. That would be a smart thing to do. But yeah, Texas Share. And you can go in. I can go into that. I don't know where you live, but and find scholarly journal articles. I don't know how good they are. If it's getting the correct. It's not ones I remember. Let me put it that way. So I don't know how deep it goes. Whew. Starting back probably around. Actually, I think it was more. It could have been as early as 2008. But I would start printing stuff out, and then, if I hadn't used it or whatever, I would go back years later, whenever it was I needed to use it again. I'd print stuff off of Wikipedia again that was, newer. And I did that today. So, yeah, because the one that I had on fallacies, I had apparently had before, and then printed again for whatever reason. The reason I'm saying I was using a different color ink, blue, at that point in 2016. Don't know why. But yeah, just using blue. And anyway, I printed some of them out again today because I really want to start digging deeper into those. And I'm going to, like I said, give myself a refresher course. And there are many. And one of the pages was a list of, what was it? Oh, how funny. A list of memory biases. That was pretty funny, wasn't it? And that was not planned. But yeah. That's one of my printout. The pages were much more pages, and it had some that they had left out before, so they've added to them since 2016. Yeah, so I'm going to start digging into those again. Like I said, give myself a refresher course and go from there, because it has been a while since I've had to study or anything philosophy, and there's a lot of it I liked. Now, the funny thing is, I really was thinking about how many ologies. And I couldn't remember how somebody had defined it. The difference between, I think it was ist, slash ist, s, and ologist. I can't remember how somebody summed it up so easily. Yeah, I need to think about that. The memory, There was one other funny thing, but I'm serious. I cannot remember what it was. But it was in a different way. Yeah, I'm not doing this on purpose, but it was one of the, I think it was listed under the fallacies. No, it was under the memory. These are kind of separated out, and then you get deeper and deeper, like into this one. And it was something that I had on my mind, and then it said go to this one, and when I went and I would look down, and that one said go to this one. I was like, okay, and I went to this one, and it was what I had been thinking about. Sneezing fit, come on, coughing and sneezing. But yeah, that's the kind of stuff that's always happened to me, and it's funny because yesterday, Adam and I had a situation where we were both just stunned that it happened to me yet again. Coughing and sneezing fits, allergies. Oh my goodness. But anyway, it was something like I was in the front room and had the door shut. I couldn't hear what he was watching on TV. He likes to watch, Netflix, Prime, whatever, movies and stuff. And that kind that I don't really like. Usually lots of guts and gore. But anyway, so I was in there, and I was thinking, that how certain things happen to me like this. Anyway, so I came out of that, it's a bedroom. I came out of that bedroom, and I walked into the living room and he was rewinding the show that he was watching, the movie he was watching. And he said he missed a part. He wanted to hear what they said. And so I started telling him about this thing that just, it's recurring for me. Not like a dream. It's not a dream. It's just something that just keeps happening to me, actual waking hours. And he knows it. He's known me for 37 years or whatever, 38 years. And so he says, yeah, that's happened to you a lot in your life. And we were kind of talking about it back and forth. And then I said, I went back into the front of the house, but into my office, which doesn't have a door. It's an opening, and the other side has a door, but no use in closing it. So I'm in there, and I heard what he was watching on TV, and I just sat there and listened, and so I walked in there. I said, tell me I'm not hearing what I'm hearing. He started laughing. He said, yeah, exactly, just what you were talking about. Yeah, and it was on that movie, and it was just so freaky. And that happens to me a lot. It's happened to me so many times in my life. It can be something like I have a thought, and then I read it in a book. And now that's quite different than, you have a thought and then you see a video on it, because these are actual published, I'm talking about scholarly books. You don't really call them scholarly books, I don't think. Articles, yeah, but usually not books, but maybe so. Anyway, yeah. Still not making much sense because of my allergies, and my glucose level is still not leveled off enough. Weight's gone down quite a bit, but yeah. Anyway, that can affect your mind. Ask a doctor. But anyway, I want to go ahead and wrap this up. If you want to subscribe to this channel, you can click the circle. If you want to watch another video, and you can click one of the rectangles. Like, subscribe, comment, and share on your own social media if you would. And I'll talk to you on another video. Bye.